We now interrupt your schedule. A special guest tonight.
Of slow journalism, investigative, and reoffend again. Or at least allows me to take the time that I need to do the kind of investigations that I do, and to work with victims and to make sure that they understand I'm not here to exploit them at all. You know, that this is about telling the story that they want to tell.
Hello, everyone. Tonight we have a special guest. We have Andy Kopsa. How are you, Andy?
Good. How are you? Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly. What
Okay.
about you? Can you hear me
Yeah.
well?
Yeah.
Cool. Let me share something I want to share because it's going to be my material to ask you a couple of questions.
Okay.
So, give
me yeah, that's me and John Jett. That's 100 years ago. That's funny.
Yeah, can you tell us something about this picture, please?
That's me and Joan Jett.
How so? That's
How
awesome.
So? Yeah, no, it's oh God, what was it? 2000? Yes, it was before 9/11, and I was working with a photographer, and that Joey Ramone had just died, of the Ramones. So the person I was working with was doing a tribute, and she was part of the tribute. So,
wow.
And I was just a big fan of hers when I was younger. So yeah, so I got to sit on her lap. Yeah,
it's awesome. I love her.
Yeah, amazing. Like very nice. She was a little freaked out by my overzealousness. So
I remember. Yeah, go ahead.
No, it just was, she was very cool. Didn't have much time with her, but it was cool to meet her. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And what is that picture? It's like a saloon, a room?
No, it's a studio. Yeah. So that's a studio, and it's on like 26th or 24th Street. And it was a screen, like a backdrop. And they brought in the prop people brought in a barber's chair, like an old hairdresser's chair. Because she had just shaved her head. She was doing like the Broadway thing, Rocky Horror Picture Show, and she had shaved her head for it. And so the prop people brought it in. And so it was just the studio that we were working in. So I'm like, yeah, I'll go sit on your lap, Joan. Tell you how I bought I Love Rock and Roll on 45. Yeah. So,
wow.
Yeah.
What a memory, huh?
That was great. Yeah. I've been pretty lucky to meet some pretty cool people. She's right up there, man. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna start with the standard question as usual.
Okay.
Can you please tell us something about you, about yourself?
Anything?
Wow. Who are you?
Everybody
knows you here, but just
no, this wasn't sure what you're interested. Well, Andy Kopsa. I am well, I kind of was a journalist. I'm not really doing that much anymore, as people probably know. I grew up in Iowa on a farm in the middle of nowhere. I live in New York with my cat, and my husband. My cat first, my husband second. And yeah, I've done a lot of investigative journalism over the last 20 years, reporting on international stuff mostly, some domestic stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of boring when it comes right down to it. So honestly, that's kind of it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And how did you start covering Delphi or not covering? Yeah.
It was an accident. Like I said, I hadn't been doing a lot of journalism. So when I was doing journalism, I was a freelancer mostly, because I would just pitch different outlets and things like that. So I was always very interested to hear new forms and new formats. And I'm really new to sort of the true crime and podcasting stuff. So I had started listening to what was the first podcast I listened to about this? I don't know if it was Down the Hill, but it was like way after the fact.
Mhm.
And I started listening to it. So like I said, I kind of interested in hearing how people tried to do reporting versus entertainment and journalism and all this stuff. Then I stumbled across Delphi. Um, and then that was, God, honestly, it was like around the trial. So I'm really, really new. I haven't really, and then I just actually got interested in it because the Murder Sheet are terrible, terrible, not journalists, and I just stumbled upon them. They're just absolutely an abomination to what used to be a very respectable and valuable career. So that's that's how I got into it. But yeah, so I came across it listening at night when I was done doing my studying, my work or whatever. I would listen to podcasts about different stuff and started catching wind that there was something really not right about what was going on in Delphi specifically. And that's when I started thinking like an investigator, which is kind of what the job is. So that's when I started digging into it.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
If I understand properly, I followed a couple of your videos. I follow
Uh-huh.
you in X or X. And
Eeks is fine. Eeks is fine. Yeah.
if I understand properly, your position is that about the case and about Richard Allen is that you don't know if he is innocent or guilty, but your position is that he didn't have a fair trial.
Absolutely.
Correct?
Yeah. I mean, I think that I would, right now, knowing everything that I know, I lean not guilty. But I mean, again, I think, and I've said this before too, is that um, you know, I don't get past the fact that he wasn't given due process of law. So for me, it doesn't even get past that sort of point. And that became very evident when, you know, the reporting, I did a lot of watching of Andrea, of Lawyer Lee and of Bob, a lot of Andrea, because did some great reporting, did some great legal reporting out of there. And so it didn't sound during the course of the trial, it didn't sound like there was a lot there. And I was like, I'm just waiting and waiting for more information. But what became clear was that he didn't get a fair trial. And so for me, it's about exposing that part of where the law has gone off the rails and putting the onus back on the state and the full force and power of the government. So, you know, I don't have theories. I don't have necessarily any ideas of who or did not, but I absolutely believe 100% that we don't know what happened because he didn't get a fair trial at all.
And why do I agree with you, by the way? But what are the main elements to say that? Why do you say that he didn't have a fair trial here?
Well, to me, I think, now that all of the information has come out, right? So we have all the transcripts now and everybody's been able to spend some time with that. I think for me, if I go back to when I started looking into it, like officially started looking into who the players were behind the scenes, I started looking into Nick McClellan and Holman and ISP and all the investigators who are on the public dime that are on taxpayer dollars, because that to me is one road for accountability. So I started looking into McClellan and I started looking into Holman and I started looking into getting some people to comment about the case. And the first thing that made me really question, well, that's not true. one of the first things that really made me question the validity or the safety of that verdict was when nobody would talk to me at the state level, right? It was a very scripted narrative that went to very specific people who were willing to carry a bunch of bullshit water for the state. And when I started seeing that narrative come out through like Hidden True Crime, which is a catastrophe, or, you know, Murder Sheet, which is a shit show, you know, and then when I started reaching out to, you know, the prosecutor, right? If you win a huge case, the biggest case in Indiana history or whatever you want to say, wouldn't you want to talk to people about it? And so I started thinking, okay, so this is really fucked up. But then when we started hearing about how he was arrested and then wasn't allowed to even have a safekeeping hearing, and you know, right there, that's a violation of his due process rights. And then have being renditioned to a prison versus held in pretrial detention, and it just took off from there. I mean, it just started becoming very, very obvious. And then I started watching other folks like Teresa, I started trying to figure out, okay, what's the actual story behind here? And then, of course, I came across Murder Sheet, and I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. Because they basically telegraph exactly what happened, but not in the way that they probably think. But yeah, so I just think the whole thing, but just the fundamental lack of respect for the process of law is just stunning from the very beginning. Oh, Kenny Powers is here. Thank God. Hi.
Hello, Kenny. No,
Does
100%. I agree with you.
that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
100%.
Yeah.
And you were very decent about that, because this case is just a mess. And I agree with you. And there are multiple elements. The fact that Richard Allen was in solitary confinement for more than 1 year. How can you explain that? It's just it's a shame. It's really sad. It's bad.
I would go further, and I feel very, very strongly about this, is that it was absolutely, torture. The man was tortured. Now, some people get down like that, and even if they think that he is a murderer, they think torture is okay. Well, it's not. We're barely hanging on by a thread as a decent nation in the United States. And torture is not okay, especially of a man who is a pretrial detainee. And I get real pissed off at people who have got that fundamentally wrong and think everything is worth it if you get a conviction, and that's not how the shit's supposed to roll at all. So yeah, it was torture. They tortured him.
Yeah, I agree with you. And
I've seen torture. So let me just say this too, because I've actually seen torture. I've actually been to prisons in I've been to several different prisons during my reporting career. And one of the worst ones was in Cameroon, where people were being locked up and not, the whole system is completely different there, but we're being locked up and for being gay or lesbian, or suspicion of being gay or lesbian, whatever. I don't care what people think about that, but it's not a reason to lock somebody up. Kept in abhorrent conditions, renditioned into cells with one woman was made to share cells with a group of men. These things are torturous conditions, and the Human Rights Watch and the UN does have a very, very distinct classification for that. And although I wasn't in Westville, through everything that everybody has reported out, and that we've heard from some people that have been in Westville, it was torture. I mean, the U.S. Constitution has something to say about it too, as well as international law. So I feel really strongly about that, and I have a problem with people who think it wasn't. They can go fuck themselves.
No, for sure. I wouldn't be able to stay sane after 2 days in those conditions, you are in solitary confinement. The lights are always turned on, so you cannot sleep. So at one point, of course, psychologically, you're not gonna be in the good state of mind for sure.
No.
That's clear. So
That's my soapbox. Sorry, I have a real problem with that. So it's just like, anyway, sorry.
Yeah, no, I understand. You recently did a fantastic interview with Andrew Baldwin. It was awesome. I hope you're gonna do like a part 2. And
He'll call me back.
Yeah.
If he calls me back, yeah. But
I know he will do it for sure. Or you call him.
Yeah, I did. I've called him. I was, hopefully there will be. I'm not exactly sure what that would look like. But I was gone for quite a while. So when I got back into the country, I did call him, but I haven't heard from him. So here's hoping.
He's gonna come back to you for sure.
Oh.
I was curious about that contact. If you can tell us how was that first contact with Baldwin? How was your first impression when you talked to him? How was that situation like behind the scenes? If you can tell us something.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, he trying to think, because like I mentioned to you, I'd started reaching out to people on all different sides of this, from the legal, like from the state side, from the defense side. And at some point, I reached out to him and Rosie, and just like I did with, all the state folks. And it took a while, but he finally got back to me. And it was it before the appeal? I can't remember exact timeline, but he and I had been going back and forth. Oh, I think it was when he was doing the, oh my God, I'm going to mess up her name. Allison Davis, is that it? Is that the trial he did? He had a murder trial in front of Judge Gull. And so he was in the middle of that trial and couldn't talk. But he was great. He was very open. I think that he wanted to vet me, because I think that, I know that he got burned, as well as the whole defense team got burned by some people acting as if they are journalists. And I think that he thought I was kind of just somebody out here in the world. And then when I started trying to tell, and I am, don't get me wrong, but I think that over time I was like, hey man, but I've actually written about this. Hey man, I've actually kind of written about this. And so I started trying to say, I'm not trying to do anything weird here. But so he finally was like, yeah, okay, I'll talk to you. And I'm like, okay, great. And he was great to talk to. I had a conversation with him briefly the day before, just to sort of give him the, here's what I want. This, how do I want this to go? I'm probably going to ask you some questions that are going to make you uncomfortable. That's, he was down for that. And once he got rolling. And I think, I haven't watched that in a long time, but maybe I should go back and listen to it and see if there's anything new that I learned from that. But yeah, he seems like a stand-up guy. I mean, I don't have any personal experience with him, but he seems like a very genuine, earnest dude. So yeah. I'd love to talk to Rosie. Ooh, I've been stalking him. I'd really like to talk to him. I really would. I mean, I'd like to talk to Nick and Holman and everybody else, but I'd really like to talk to Rosie. I think he's a dark horse here. I'd like to get in touch with.
He's a shark. I hope you can.
Yeah.
It's gonna be awesome. Let's see. Why not?
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
So now again, that interview was fantastic, and I have a couple of questions about that interview. They are coming soon, but before going to those questions, in the same sense, did you try to contact Holman or McClellan, people from the other side of the moon, let's say, to do this type of interviews?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I went back and I looked at it, and it was in December. So it was right after the sentencing. And I reached out to McClelland. I reached out in every way you can, you know, without literally showing up at the courthouse, which I'm not above doing, by the way, because it is a public facility where U.S. taxpayers or people in general can show up. But so called him, emailed him, spoke to the clerk. Holman called the ISP, what do you call it? The public information officer. Then when I started finding out more about what happened with Fortson and with how Holman really likes interviewing people on Air Force bases, I called the Adjutant General of Indiana to find out. I was going every which way I could to try to put these people on the spot, because that's their job. So I reached out to all of them, phone calls, emails, phone calls, just a litany of things. Nobody would return my call, of course. I don't even know if Nick responded maybe once to an email, and then he was like, oh, she's not going away, so I'm just going to ignore her. And that's fine. Holman never. Did talk to the PIO. He passed me off to somebody else. But yeah, so I mean, and the thing is, like, look, man, my thing is if you got nothing, if there's nothing weird going on here, let me ask questions. You know, you should be able to have the courage of your convictions, meaning going and talking to people who think you might be an abject turd and taking some questions and taking some heat, because that's how this works. So, but he can't do that. Holman won't do that. And I just hope that one day they need to have to speak to somebody on the record, you know, official record. But yeah, they seem to have a couple people they'll talk to, and that kind of tells me everything I need to know about this whole thing. So yeah. Who knows? Maybe they would have told me something that changed my mind. I mean, listen, people, I don't know everything. I don't know everything. But I gotta say, I've had good success with speaking with people on both sides of whatever issue, or looking at the totality of a situation. And it takes talking to everybody typically before you can make a conclusion. Here, you know, the public really wasn't afforded the opportunity to make an objective decision because of the way things rolled out. And it just keeps going on, you know?
Yeah, I agree 100%. And then we can do the link with the lack of transparency here in this case. It's clear that
I've never seen anything like it. I really haven't. I really haven't seen anything like it.
It's crazy, yeah. And you were giving the example of the Karen Reed trial, the Brian Kobergers. Let's say we had cameras in those cases. It's not the same thing here, and I don't know why. It's really weird. It's sad. And my next question is in that sense. Do you think that aspect, that element, let's say, just if we talk about the lack of cameras in the courtroom, it's something that at the end affected the outcome, the verdict of Richard Allen?
I think that it would have to be, well, no, I don't think that necessarily in and of itself. It didn't help, because transparency and sunshine is always better. At least we know what's going on and what's being done in our name. And that's what this is. But I do think it goes back further, and it goes back to the original coverage of the case and the lack thereof. And this predates Murder Sheet. You know, I'm talking about even from, you know, local journalism perspective, there's no real investigative journalism happening. There's like news deserts across the country. I'm from, like I said, I'm from Iowa, small place in the middle of nowhere. Newspapers going away left, right, and center. That was missing. The information vacuum was already there, and And so it wasn't being reported on necessarily in a way that was, and this is not necessarily a fault of local journalists. Support local journalists. We need local journalists. What I think it is a byproduct of there's no money. There's no, it's television news. They're on a different like turn and burn cycle, right? That coupled with the false narrative put out by the state through their willing, through willing participants in the media or podcasts or whatever. Plus, on top of that, a judge who, in my opinion, just run roughshod over the actual laws of open government. Plus having no, public scrutiny that could hold the feet to the fire of what actually went on in the courtrooms. I think that all of that is played a part and plays a part in way too many criminal legal proceedings in the United States. So I think it was like maybe the last sort of. I think it was the last thing that, if people had been allowed to at least see what happened within the courtroom, maybe they would have been more open to finding out what went wrong earlier. If that makes any sense? So I don't know. I don't think that's the one thing to blame. But it didn't help. It didn't help at all.
For sure.
So.
Yeah. And when we talk about that situation, and I think about the murder sheet.
Every time I hear their name, I just chuckle. Those mofos.
Sad disgrace.
Yes. Yeah.
I used to say that the murder sheet is like the media weapon of law enforcement in this case. I don't know, the communication between law enforcement and the outside of it was made via the murder sheet. So it was like a unidirectional channel, let's say. And I think we cannot trust a source when that proximity to law enforcement is made in that way. You know what I mean? And the leaks, the whole stuff, everything is just very weird there. We as I don't know.
No, I mean, I want to hear. I mean, I want to hear when you think it started. Like, when did you start? Did you listen to them? Because did you listen to them for like Delphi information and then realize maybe they weren't like a reliable source? Because I mean, they did. When I look back, it's like they did have, Baldwin and Rosie and Osbrook and Hennessy. It's almost like they had the whole team on, right? But yeah, I don't know. When do you think that, or was it always just bad? I don't know.
It is always bad.
Always.
And I remember the first, because I am very interested in the Keegan Klein's angle. I have my own theory about the case, and it's related to Keegan Klein. And the first transcript that was released to the public in regards of Keegan Klein was released by the murder sheet. It's a very interesting document. It's the interview that it was made by the detective Vido to Keegan. But the version of the murder sheet about that, about how they were able to obtain that transcript, is that there was a clerical error, and they were. Do you remember that?
You know what? I think I heard about this. That doesn't smell right to me.
No, it's smelly, but smelly. And that was like 4 years ago, let's say, or maybe, like maybe more. I don't even remember that date. But it's like they were by miracle at the same time, the same date, the same milliseconds. That information was available to the public in internet. They catched that transcript just by chance, and that's the story. So they think we're stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
they do.
yeah, since the
They
beginning,
do.
everything is fishy, is smelly, is weird.
Mhm.
Everything that is related to those guys is just bad. So yeah, I
I
don't
agree.
trust the murder shit at all.
Hmm. Okay.
No.
Yeah. I mean, I just didn't know if there was a point where it became. Yeah, I don't know your history with watching them or anybody's history who's been watching them, but they, you know, I've said this before and I'll say it again. They aren't journalists and they're barely an attorney. I mean, I said it. It's like, I don't know, man. Seems like an attorney and a journalist would know better than to publish what is certainly, in my opinion, going to be very helpful down the road for people that want to investigate their role or the way that they came across information, which can be obtained. And I want to be clear, journalists have sources. Journalists protect sources. I'm not just going to give people shit to show receipts. That's not my deal.
Mhm.
There's a difference between journalism and showing receipts.
Of course.
They just straight refuse to even cite sources in a way that is believable even. Oh, there's all eyes. Hey, girl.
Exactly.
Yeah, so they're
Yeah, they're not journalists. They are not lawyers, and they are not writers for sure. Because that book is an abomination, as you said before. It's just,
oh God,
oh my God, what?
the language is never going to recover. I mean, you know.
So I
So
was not expecting to read Shakespeare, let's say, but that book is just bad. Oh my God, it's
yeah.
horrible.
I think it's interesting from a timeline perspective, though, boy. They really
Yeah,
shed some interesting light on stuff.
sure. So
Oh, what is all I say? Murder sheet seem to think that a glitch. Oh, sure. Yeah.
exactly, the miraculous glitch is no one is gonna buy that. It's just bad.
Mm-mm.
You were talking to Andrew Baldwin about the fact
Mm.
that Richard Allen was moved to
Mm.
Oklahoma. What are your thoughts about that move?
Well, I think it's I don't well, okay, first of all, I think it was by design. I think that it was certainly not out of the norm for states to have reciprocal agreements with other states if they're overcrowded or blah blah blah. But I do find it incredibly the timing very pinpointed on when he would need to be in contact with his appellate counsel.
Yeah,
And that and I think, and I can't remember if Baldwin said this or who made, I can't remember, that there was some sort of thing going around that it was his choice and he wanted to go. It's just that wasn't true at all. Unfortunately, uh, that word gets out the door and it's not vetted. But I think it was designed to make this a more difficult case for Uliana and Lehman to properly appeal. I think they will. I think they will properly appeal it. But it's yet again, appeal is actually a right under the Constitution. People may not like it, but it is a right to appeal. And it's yet again the state of Indiana, in my opinion, putting up a roadblock in this particular case. So it's
yeah, me too. I'm very suspicious about that move. It's just weird, and I think they are trying to put obstacles in that appealing process for sure. I had the same feeling you had.
yeah. It's not great.
No, it's not.
Well, it's not great. And I mean, I worry about his safety, I guess. I mean, look, again, the man has a right to an appeal, and the things that they were able to do at Westville, you know, and that was in the backyard, basically, of Baldwin and Rosie. Now he's, you know, in Oklahoma. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, he certainly has been tried and found guilty. There's no getting around that. But in the timeline of this whole case and investigation, it just is another thing that doesn't seem right. Doesn't add up.
Okay. Yeah, let's see. During your interview with Baldwin, you led me very, very curious at the end of the interview, and I don't know if you can talk about this or not, because I think you wanted to talk with Baldwin during the next interview. Mm-hmm. But you mentioned that you had concerns about the way the jury was sequestered. Mm-hmm. You were talking about some barbecue, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can elaborate about that or not.
Well, I mean, the thing I did have, one of the things I came across, and I mean, first of all, I don't think that they should have been sequestered. I really don't. I mean, if Karen Reed trial can go home every night amid that, they should not have been sequestered. I think that's a breeding ground for groupthink. So, but second of all, you know, we do know that they were kind of palling around with bailiffs and, you know, folks that are in law enforcement, and that to me again was like one other. It was like it was prejudicing Mr. Allen against, you know, it was almost like a sort of forced Stockholm syndrome. But the other thing that I came across, and I can't remember the email, and I can find it, or maybe it's been in the email where they were talking about how long trial was going to take from Gull to the attorneys. I think I brought this up to Baldwin, is, you know, where she mentioned in this email about accommodation, and she said, well, you know, the jury will be staying with my staff. And what I took, and when I read it, it could have been read one of two ways, not like with their staff, like everybody's having a, you know, a big overnight, you know, whatever. But if they were staying even in the same complex, even in the same area, even in the same town, the court staff and the jury, I was like, that just doesn't, I mean, it just felt completely, when I read it, I'm like, I would have said something, I thought. I mean, maybe it means nothing, but in light of what we know, and the one juror who has spoken to Murder Sheet, because of course they have, was really chummy and familiar, and they were sort of hanging out. There was talk of getting photos taken. You know, it's all very problematic. And my other concern is that, and we talked about this a little bit, I think, during the live with Andrew Baldwin, was that when the jury had a question, you know, they had to come back into the courtroom, but they wouldn't be transparent about it. Like, they usually, if there was a question, you come back into open court, but instead they kept this jury so sequestered that they got the impression they almost felt like they were in danger themselves. But yeah, I mean, I think if you're hanging out, having dinner, you know, going out and for dinner together, and you can hang out and talk about the case as long as you're all together prior to the end of trial, I mean, none of that is good. None of that is good. And do I put it above anybody working in Carroll County in law enforcement to do something jacked up in regards to this case? No. I mean, no, I don't, because they haven't earned any sort of trust from the public. So I think sequestration in this case was a really bad decision, a really bad decision.
Yeah, I get your point for sure.
Yeah, Lindsay's right. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think it's way too close, you know, that that's being way too close for that amount of time. It just is. So one thing that he did say to me, and maybe this is something you picked up on, was about there were some misrepresentations by oh God, who was it? Was it even Doug Carter? I'll have to go back and look, but there was some misrepresentations made in the record, of course, in the transcripts about how certain things went down when the jury had questions. So, and I don't know if I ever got clarification on that or not, but yeah, it just seems like it was a shit show. I keep saying shit show, but I can't think of, I got no more words for it, you know? I truly, it's
I,
nuts. But
my
does that answer
vocabulary.
your question? I mean, is
Yeah,
that what you're,
yeah. Sure.
it's nuts. It's nuts, you know?
It was a perfect answer for sure. Uh, when you were talking about the judge, she was like a bully against Baldwin and Rosie. Even Baldwin was saying, I regret to not to push harder against the judge.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think, yeah, you're right. You should probably, I mean, I get it. I get why he feels bad. And you know, I'm sure they've all done some reflection, but I can't say how I would react, but I know enough about myself to think that I probably would have gotten sailed as close to the sun as I could have with her without putting Mr. Allen's case in jeopardy by pushing back no matter how much she came for them. And so, and I think he's right. I think that there are things that he said, you know, the eye rolls that she made at the, you know, to the defense team, or her sort of exasperation with the defense team, like all of that, like he said, is not captured in the transcript. And so he wishes he put that kind of things on the record. And I think the example he gave was a perfect one, is about her sort of, you know, and again, when the jury's in the room and they see a judge reacting viscerally to one side or the other, or being favorable to one side or the other, that's a problem. And it was obvious to people who were able to be objective in the courtroom that she was being very aggressive with them, and held them, you know, held very little regard for them. So when Baldwin said he should have said to her at a sidebar, if you don't stop rolling your eyes at us, Judge, I'm going to make an objection in open court and put it on the record in public. But he didn't do that, and he wishes he did. I'd like to, see, I would probably get in trouble because I don't know if I could keep my mouth shut. But they know, but you know, but again, I also would like to think that I'm savvy enough to know what I can get, you know, what that tension is between pushing things too far for my client whose life is on the line. But, you know, I think he, you know, I think he's right. I think there's a lot of things that should have been put on the record, a lot of things that weren't allowed on the record, but they had no chance with Gull. They didn't. Had no chance.
And since there were no cameras in the courtroom, we couldn't see that interaction between the judge and the attorneys. That's sad.
Yeah.
Do you know if the famous Odin report from Jeffrey Turco, the professor from Purdue, it's already available? I would love to read that Odin report.
The Turco report?
Yeah.
I thought the Turco report was out.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the law enforcement? The law enforcement report? Or are you talking about Ferenczi of
the one that Baldwin was asking to Nick McClelland before the writing the Franke memorandum, and McClellan
Oh.
was delaying that information.
Is that, see, now I don't know, is that the Odin report? Because I got a copy of the Odin report, but it was
Okay.
like the 12-page one that I don't know. All Eyes, where are you? Shit, what is it? What was it called? Who did it? Murphy. It was the Murphy report.
No, Turco.
That's the one I had. It was only 12 pages long. I don't know if I've ever seen the Turco report.
Yeah.
But there's another longer report that I don't think anybody's seen. Okay, All Eyes is saying Turco wrote a report on March. Yeah, I've never seen that. Has anybody seen that?
I don't know if I think she's the best person to answer to our question here, because I would love to read that report, because I'm not sure who's right and who's wrong here in that situation. According to law enforcement, Turco said or concluded that the crime scene was not related to the Odinism situation, let's say, but according to Andrew Baldwin, he didn't dismiss that possibility. But it's like we have two versions, and since I didn't read the report, I cannot conclude. So I was curious about that.
Yeah, I don't know. That I can't imagine he would cough that up. It should be part of the record, I would think. But then again, everything should be part of the record. But I wonder if there's a way to get at that through the was there something in the contempt hearing? I don't know. There might be a way to sort of see what they put on the record, the defense, what the defense put on the record as to representing what was in the report. I don't know. There might be a way to piece a few things together, but I don't know about. I don't know if anybody's seen it. There's All Eyes again.
Okay, All Eyes, she answered here something about that.
A sketch of the sticks and info working assumption regarding whether there were runic. Oh yeah, that I do think, but I do think that I do think that reading through the contempt hearing stuff, and this could be wrong because I've been reading a lot of stuff lately, not having to do with this case. It gets jumbled up in my brain, but I do think that some of the transcripts from the contempt and the pre-contempt hearing filings, there was, and maybe some supplemental motions by Hennessy that seemed to call out Holman's bullshit directly as misrepresenting. So maybe it was like the third Frank's motion or something, I think, that laid out where exactly they lied about what All Eyes is talking about. I don't know, maybe not. She's saying no. Oh God, there's woman's here telling me I'm wrong. Oh God.
But,
trust them. Don't trust me. I don't know.
But anyways, it hasn't been released according to.
I don't think so.
No,
yeah, she would know. She's
exactly. I
she's
trust
the
in everything related to the transcripts and the documentation. She's the one for sure.
Yep. All Eyes.
Oh man, she's awesome. What do you think about the fact that the geofencing data was not allowed to be part of the process?
Bullshit.
Oh man.
I don't know. None of it makes. I mean, it either can exclude people or not. It can either, and I'm talking about before there is even a defendant, right? I mean, even before there's a defendant, does this technology that you're using, well, if it's unreliable, how did you use it to rule people out? I mean, so I don't understand, how that works. But I think that anything that could have gone to, I mean, and again, I don't know enough about the differences between the geofencing and all the different data sets they use, but it just seems to me that if something tended to go toward exculpatory evidence for Mr. Allen or any defendant in a U.S. courtroom, it should be turned over and at least considered. Yeah, I have no idea why it wasn't. It's, I guess, goal. I don't know. It's kind of the universal answer, right?
Exactly. Another fishy situation here in this case is just unacceptable, because
Yeah.
that information is gonna give you the possibility to discard some actors or to involve some actors in this crime, and I don't get it, for real. It's just
Well, and the thing is that, you know, the thing is that there's so much discrepancy in phone between the different phone extractions and the phone. And this is kind of something that they saw in the Karen Reed trial too. And again, I haven't seen the reports, so I don't know, and I wouldn't know how to read them, but it seems like the argument that was being made is that there's again, the evidence, the onus is on the prosecution, period, full stop, to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. And if they didn't enable the defendant access to all of those things that could be exculpatory, then that's a problem. And anybody who ends up in a court of law charged with anything needs to be concerned about that. So, you know, the other alternative is that maybe they destroyed the geofencing data. I mean, look, they got rid of. I'm struggling to see something that they did right here. I really am, and I think that, you know, I think that the FBI or the certainly Murphy and Mr. Ferenczi, who, you know, is no longer with us, were going for it and doing some investigation. I don't believe it was a ritual sacrifice, but man, they came up with some pretty interesting intel on some people. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's I think it'll be interesting to see what comes up in the appeal. I really do.
Because it was a big deal at the beginning of the at the time when Richard Allen was arrested, and everyone was talking about his cell phone. But if we don't even have the opportunity to analyze the geofencing data, how can you complain about the lack of a cell phone? The cell phone was available at that time, so it should be part of the geofencing data. And if it's not there, again, it's an important information. So I don't get it. I just don't understand.
Well, and they also, you know, the thing that people forget too is that, well, why didn't they bring in the phone information from, well, because, you know, the state didn't investigate it. Or if they did, they didn't disclose it. They had, you know, we have to remember that when he met with Dan Doolin, he took the number, the identifying number off of his phone. So they could, I guess, couldn't they have plug that into the old machine, their machine, to see if he was in that. I mean, there's so many questions that are unanswered, and seemingly the state didn't seek to answer. And I don't get it. I'm still waiting to see what it is that we're all missing that's going to make us realize the jury got it right. But I just am like, I can't see it yet, you know?
And it's not even necessary to plug the cell phone to a machine or something like that. You just have to contact the service provider with the cell phone number and look, give me the list of websites he was accessing at the time. What was he doing at the time? The location of the phone at the time. So it's just, oh man.
Yeah, there were a lot of investigative avenues that if they exhausted every investigative avenue, it seems like there would be a lot more information that they submitted into evidence against Mr. Allen. And I don't know, man. it's not great. It's not great, but yeah.
Yeah, it's not. When we talk about we know that there were no cameras in the courtroom. I'm back again to that point. So we had some YouTubers or content creators attending that process. And the question is I'm going to include all of them, the pro-defense YouTubers like Andrea, like Bob Moda, and the others from the pro-prosecution side, let's say Tom Webster, etc., the murder sheet. Do you think that some of them, they have like an agenda here, or?
Well, I think I can answer it this way. I think that when I interviewed Andrea the first time, you know, I hated to break it to her, but she was basically acting as a journalist because she pretty much gave a verbatim readout of her sitting in the courtroom every day. Now, that was information distribution, and it wasn't until like the waning few days of the trial where she's like, I don't know, man, this is starting to look bad. In the beginning, she was really just giving information. Bob is Bob. So he's never made any bones about his position. And I think that's great. Lawyer Lee, I did watch her as well to get more information. But again, I don't think that there's not enough. I think in this case specifically, you had to be either a long-term legal analyst who's been covering courts for a long time, which is not something that there really exists much anymore, but actually somebody that worked on not just a crime beat, but the court beat that knows the ins and outs, or a lawyer. And I think in this case, Andrea, I told her, I'm like, you did the work of a journalist in this case, because she did. Now, I think that everybody is biased. I have so many biases, but that's okay, as long as if you're going to represent yourself as being a straight shooter and being objective, then you have to be objective. Or like Bob Mata has always been like, dude, I am so defense, you can defense me, right? He's like, you know what you get on the tin with that guy. And so nobody goes in with any sort of ideas that he's going to give you. I mean, but he'll still give props to good prosecution and all of those things. Andrea and Lawyer Lee are both from either the more defense side. I mean, obviously Andrea defense, and Lawyer Lee worked, I think, in mediation and some defense work or whatever. But as far as the rest of them, I mean, I don't know. I think it's hard to say. It's hard for me to say about other creators online, because I tended to stick with either whatever was covered in local news, and then try to match that up with the other information that was coming out from, say, Andrea or Lawyer Lee. Because I think Bob, Lawyer Lee, and Andrea were the only three attorneys that were there every day. I think, weren't they?
Tom Webster also, no? I think so.
Tom Webster's an attorney?
Attorney, sorry. I didn't hear that.
Sorry, I'm like Kevin? I'm sorry.
No, sorry.
Oh,
But he's better than Kevin for sure.
Oh no, Tom Webster, why can't I can't place him. I don't remember. Oh God, I feel terrible. I can't remember his coverage. I don't even know if do I know him? I don't know if I do.
For sure you do.
Do I? Okay,
Yeah.
I don't know. Is he a local Indianapolis?
No, I think he's even from maybe from England, guys. No, I think so.
Oh hell, I don't know. There was one dude who was and somebody will know it. It's somebody who was with the local indie station that I thought did a decent job. Max? Was there somebody named Max?
I don't know.
Anyway, so yeah, I don't know anything really about. I don't really know anything about Tom Webster. Ooh, sorry. So, yeah. Oh,
Anyways,
I forgot.
um, did you watch the Hulu documentary?
I did not.
Anna, you
I
didn't want
didn't.
to, or what?
I was gone, and when it came out, and I was like gone. And I hadn't gotten back to it yet. I've wanted to. Well, I've had a lot of shit going on, so I want to have a period of time when I can sit down and watch it all together. If that makes any sense. But I mean, yeah, I just wasn't. I was literally in another country for the time that it was, and was doing work in school, so I was not paying attention at the time. So, what do you think? Was it good? Was it all right?
Well, it was like more of the same. I think. I think it's important because it keeps the case alive. So
Okay.
just
Yeah,
just
I'm gonna watch it, but I just haven't had a block of time.
you know just to have a documentary of that magnitude, to me is important for the case, even if it's like a repetition of the repetition. But
No, I
uh,
think you're right. That's a good point. That's a very good point. I just haven't had a chance to watch it.
it was cool that they gave the opportunity to interview some people like Libby's mother.
Mm.
So yeah, no, it was for us
Yeah,
who follow the case is fun to watch it, but it was not like breaking news or something like that. No.
right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that I'm very interested to hear from the mothers, of the girls
Yeah,
versus,
for sure.
I mean the mothers, that makes a difference. So yeah, it's not that I don't want to, it's just I haven't really had a chance to
Yeah,
give it the time it deserves. So, but I will at some point soon, I'm sure. Yeah.
for sure. And in the case the appealing process, let's say, is going to be granted, what are the main elements like to have a successful outcome in that appeal,
I
according
don't
to
know,
you?
man.
No.
All I know is that it's very restricted what can be appealed because it has to be contained within the record. I would hope that the transcripts are fixed before there's an actual appeal, because I think there's a lot missing from the transcripts. And I don't mean that in a necessarily nefarious way, but there's a lot of stuff missing. And that's all that the appeals crew can work with, is what's already in the record.
Mm-hmm.
They can't do it. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why there was so many people that were interested in doing a what do you call it? A post-conviction investigation, because that's where you can introduce new evidence. The thing that makes me feel hopeful about a new trial, because I do think the man deserves a new trial, is the constitutional issues that were brought up in the motion to correct error. And I think that is, without new evidence, it's hard, and I'm not a lawyer, but I do think that there are two pretty strong backstops that are in the motion to correct error, which is the NAP. I had talked to Michael and Kara about the NAPUI and Glossip claims that would be immediate reversal and remand. And then there is the chronic claims, which would be the same thing, denying Mr. Allen or any defendant the right to counsel at a critical stage in the proceedings. So, I mean, those to me seem like two good issues, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. I got a bad taste in my mouth for the Indiana court system, so maybe it's got to go federal. You know, maybe it's got to be in the federal system before there's really, but maybe the appeals court is like, yeah, well, we're not worried about golf. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, let's wait. I hope it's gonna be granted. I think we need that process just to answer a lot of questions that are still unanswered.
I hope that they at least, and this is one of the things I talked to Kara about a while back, is that the hope is that it gets a hearing, because you know they can file a brief and the appellate team can rule on the brief alone. But I hope that it gets a hearing, and that they're able to do oral arguments, because that would be a kind of a watershed, I would hope. And I'm not sure how Indiana does it, if they do audio, or I know the Supreme Court does live streaming, but I would hope that there's at least a hearing. I don't know what they would do, but I hope they grant a hearing. So
Yeah, me too. I hope
that's
so.
my hope. Yeah.
So it's been more than 1 hour. Fantastic conversation. I have one more question for you.
Yeah, of course.
Andy.
Yeah.
If you have the opportunity to ask one question, just one question, to Gall, McLelland, or Holman, what would be that question?
Yeah, do you want to guess? Who raised you? Who raised you?
Great question. That's the perfect one.
Who raised you, people?
Great.
Seriously.
Awesome question.
Oh God. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I would ask them. But it would be something akin to have you no shame? How do you sleep at night? Who raised you? Yeah, some of those things. Uh-huh.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Andy. It was great.
Well, thanks. It was a hoot.
I hope we can do it again someday.
Yeah. I'm not doing a lot. I'm not doing a lot right now, but yeah, I'm kind of poking around in the forts and stuff, because I'm very interested in that. So I've been looking into that, but so we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think there's a lot there, but thanks.
Sure.
I really appreciate it. It was great talking to you.
It was awesome. Thank you so much, Andy.
Okay.
And stay in touch.
Sure, absolutely. Okay. Bye, y'all.
Thank you guys in the chat. Hit the like. See you. Bye.